Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradhari Jasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vonachari Jamuna Tira Vonachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradhari Jasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vonachari Jamuna Tira Vonachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradhari Jasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vonachari Jamuna Tira Vonachari Madhava Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajaka Acharya Stotara Satashi Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajaka Acharya Stotara Satashi Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Jai Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinatha Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Shri Vrindavan Dhama Ki Jai. Navadvip Dhama Ki Jai. Shri Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Gopi Jana Balabali Ki Jai. Shama Veda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Shri Nityananda Mahotsav Ki Jai. Shri Nanda Nityananda Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Nityananda Prabhu Mahotsava Ki Jai. Namavishweta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaivam Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nasta Parayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Bhagavati Bhavati Naishtiki. We're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam and also be talking about Lord Nityananda. Both things will be happening today because it's kind of a special day. So we'll start out with the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're reading from the third canto, 13th chapter, 41st text. Is that right? 41st text? 40th text. Tamastraga kritya bhagavam svaya ditra. Virajate buddharabu sakala bahi. Virajate buddharabu sabodhara. Yatanandan niksharato datavrita. Matro gajendrasya sapatra badmani. Vatan gajendriya sapatra badmani. Anyone else wish to chant? Okay. The Mashtra Agra, the tip of the tusks. Katya, by the edges. Bhagavan, O personality of Godhead. Vaya, by you. Trit, Tritra, sustained. Virajate is so beautifully situated with mountains. Yata, as much as. Vandit, Vanat, from the water. Nahasarataha, coming out. Tata, by the tusk. Drita, captured. Matam, Gajendrasya, infuriated elephant. Sapatra, with leaves. Padmini, the lotus flower. O lifter of the earth, translation. O lifter of the earth with its mountains, which you know, have lifted with your hand, with your tusks, is situated as beautifully as a lotus flower with leaves sustained by an infuriated elephant just coming out of the water. Responsively, O lifter of the earth with its mountains, which you have lifted with your tusks, is situated as beautifully as a lotus flower with leaves sustained by an infuriated elephant just coming out of the water. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The fortune of the earth planet is praised because of its being specifically sustained by the Lord. Its beauty is appreciated and compared to that of a lotus flower, situated on the bank of an elephant, on the trunk of an elephant. As a lotus flower with leaves is very beautifully situated, so the world, with its many beautiful mountains, appeared on the tusks of Lord Boar. Translation, again, by Srila Prabhupada. O lifter of the earth with its mountains, which you have lifted with your hands, is situated as beautifully as a lotus. Is situated as beautifully as a lotus flower, with leaves sustained by an infuriated elephant just coming out of the water. Om Gyana Timarandasya Ganananjana Salakaraya Chatsur Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So this is a kind of interesting verse where the mountains and the earth are described as beautiful. The earth is beautiful to many people, just to see the beautiful greenery and the mountains and the lakes and the rivers and the oceans. And the mountains are described as beautiful. They're sometimes pictured in pictures and paintings, mountains, tall mountains, sort of Himalayan mountains and snow-capped mountains like Mount Everest. They're sometimes described as very beautiful. So they're not always very beautiful, but they're described as beautiful. So in this verse, we can understand that we're not the body, because sometimes the Lord takes the form of an animal. In this case, he took the body of a pig or a boar. And so sometimes people wonder, how can a pig be beautiful? But as it's described by Krishna, it can be beautiful because it's the Supreme Lord himself. So the story of Hiranyaksha, who he was fighting with, submerged the world in water of devastation, and a great battle took place between a club battle. Hiranyaksha was wielding the club, and Krishna fought with him, and was victorious, and lifted the earth out of the water, and saved all of us by putting it on his tusks and lifting it out of the water. So as far as Nityananda is concerned, sometimes he is known as an avaduta. An avaduta is described as a person who has no connection with the material world and teaches people about Krishna consciousness. And sometimes people are enamored with many things, with many incarnations of Krishna. And in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, there's an incident that's described by Chaitanya Bhagavat about a dacoit. And if you don't know what a dacoit is, because the word dacoit doesn't appear in the American English Dictionary by Merriam-Webster, but it does appear in the British, the English, Oxford English Dictionary, and in the Macquarie Dictionary of this country. And a dacoit is described as a member of a band of armed robbers. A member of a band of armed robbers. Of course, Prabhupada uses that word a lot because it's an Indian English. It's described as an Indian English word, not an American English word. Although it's said and it's used a lot in Great Britain. Anyway, there was the story described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat by Vrindavan Das Thakur is there was once a band of dacoits, and the leader of the dacoit was a Brahmin. In those days, even armed robbers sometimes worshipped. They believed in God or they believed in demigods. So this band of dacoits was headed by one particular dacoit who was a Brahmin by nature. And but his ulterior motive was to steal the jewels that were on the body of Nityananda. And Nityananda was staying in a house, and he was kind of hiding out. But he knows everything because he's an incarnation. I mean, a full manifestation of Krishna or Vishnu and Balaram, and he's actually non-different. And Nityananda is described as being non-different from Balaram. So he's an elder brother, and he was born of Rohini, but it's described that he was transferred from the womb of one person, Devaki, to the womb of Rohini. So this is a very esoteric thing, how an embryo can be transferred from one womb into another. I won't go into that, but it's a very sophisticated concept. So anyway, to get back to this incident, there's a band of robbers, and I don't think they were all Brahmins. And he didn't mention that, but he did say that one of them, the leader, was a Brahmin, and this Brahmin worshipped Chandi, or is another name for Durga, and many of the robbers and criminals of India, they worship different demigods like Durga, and they had many of them had a belief in God. It's a very common thing that whenever there's a kirtan in India, many people gather around because it's their religion. They think it's beautiful, even though they may be impersonalists. But there were a few impersonalists who became personalists. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya started out as an impersonalist. Bilba Mangal Thakur started out as an impersonalist. The Chatur, the young boys, what are they called? Chatur Vyuhas? Huh? Chatur Mas. Anyway, they started out as impersonalists, and Sukadeva Goswami was an impersonalist originally, but all of them became, as an exceptional thing, they became Vaishnavas. So this is a very rare thing. Usually a person who is liberated into the Brahma Jyoti goes back to the material world and starts opening schools and various institutions of material welfare work, and doesn't really go higher into the realm of Krishna Loka. So anyway, this Brahmin was studying Nityananda, and he was figuring out which jewels to get. And they all started having a conference, these dacoits, as to who would get which jewels. Some would get the gold ring, some would get the ankle bells made of silver and whatnot. So they decided to rob him, and they would go in at night. So the first night they went there, they fell asleep before they could get up and do the robbery. And they started arguing with each other. Who fell asleep first, and why did you fall asleep, and this and that. And they had a big kerfuffle among themselves. They decided that somehow or other Goddess Chandi made them fall asleep, and they wouldn't go in and they wouldn't steal the jewels. They'd come back another time. So they came back a second time. I don't know how much later it was, but it wasn't very much later. They came back, and this time they were surrounded. They found that the house in which Nityananda was living was surrounded by very strong guards, very big men, very tough-looking, muscular, and they decided that the Goddess Chandi doesn't want us to go in there tonight either, because we wouldn't have a chance against these guys. These guys are really tough, big guys. So they decided not to do it. Then they came back a third time. And this time, of course, Nityananda knew exactly what was going on because he's all cognizant. This time, Lord Nityananda caused them all to go blind. They all lost their vision. And they not only lost their vision, but they fell into ponds. I don't know if there was a moat surrounding this house, but there were some bodies of water that they fell into. And they were full of dangerous insects like mosquitoes that started biting them. And then Lord Indra made it so that it would start raining very heavily. A big storm came up and rained on all these dacoits. So they got stung by the mosquitoes, or they got bitten by the insects. They got rained on, and they came to the conclusion that they're just not going to rob him. They're not going to get these jewels. So then the rest of the incident is that the head of the dacoits, who wasn't named in this narration, goes in and apologizes to Nityananda and tells him the truth, that they were actually, he was traveling with them, and he was looking at his jewels all the time because he had an ulterior motive, but he apologized to him. And he told him that actually we wanted to steal your jewelry, your ankle bells, your bracelets, your necklace, and your everything. They were going to steal it. And then, but he said, please, if you can, forgive me. And Lord Nityananda did forgive him. Of course, Nityananda is also known as being a very merciful manifestation of Krishna, and even though he was injured by Jagaya and Madai in another incident, he begged Lord Caitanya not to take any force against them, not to kill them. He was ready to kill them, but he said, if you kill these people, you have to kill everybody, because everybody in the world is like Jagaya and Madai. They're all following materialism, they're all getting drunk, they're all womanizing, they're all doing sort of things. So this very merciful attitude prevailed when the dacoit chief asked for him to forgive him. He said, of course I'll forgive you if you promise never to do this again, never to steal, never to do your criminal activities. So the dacoit went back to the head dacoit, went back to his fellow dacoits, and convinced a few of them that they should also become Vaishnavas and worship Krishna. And that actually happened. So it's a very interesting thing that Nityananda is very merciful. So we worship Lord Nityananda. He's on our altar. We worship him regularly. And Prabhupada said in Nectar of Devotion, and he mentions this incident in I think it's Nectar of Devotion. Anyway, Lord Caitanya is very merciful. Lord Nityananda is very merciful, and because he was the stepson of Nanda Maharaj. Nanda Maharaj looked after him through one of his co-wives. So that's the story of Nityananda, and today we honor him. And in Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada said that we should always honor special appearance days, like the appearance of Lord Krishna, and today we're honoring the appearance of Lord Nityananda. So it's a very special day, and the decorations are very special. So if anyone has anything they want to ask about Lord Bora or Lord Nityananda, now's the time to do it. I just have to warn you that it's not just the people in this room that are hearing this talk. It's going all over the world. It's going to Johannesburg. It's going to be, if it's not going today, it's going to be going soon to Paris, to many places, in faraway countries. So, but if you ask something that's very controversial, and I have to give a very controversial answer, I'll ask you to discuss it with me privately after the class, if you promise not to be recording it, because there's a lot of advantages to high technology. Like Prabhupada describes all the different siddhas, the different perfections that you can have, like acquisition. I think it's called, what's it called? Pari something. Anyway, when you have this power, you can reach into another country like Afghanistan and get a pomegranate from there and bring it back to India. This happened in Prabhupada's house. Once a yogi who was very powerful was asked if he had any fruit, and he reached to Afghanistan, from West Bengal to Afghanistan, and brought some pomegranates for them all to take. So that's one of the advantages of modern technology. But despite the fact that there's modern technology, there's also a lot of dacoits and thieves who are willing to steal things made of gold and silver and pearls and other jewelry. So if there's anything to ask, please fire away. Yes? That wasn't a question.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the lecture. That's wonderful. Just reflecting on Lord Nityananda, Balaram, Ananta Shesh, they're all the same, and the Guru is a representation of all of them. And Lord Nityananda embodies the service attitude, as does Balaram, and then the Guru Maharaj as well as serving. Can you comment on that?
Comment on the serving attitude?
On the idea that they're embodying service attitude, and that's what they're passing down.
Lord Nityananda is especially teaching us to be merciful, to be kind, and to be forgiving. One English poet, can't think of his name just now, Alexander Pope, he said that to err is human, to forgive is divine. So it wasn't that Lord Nityananda was the only forgiving, merciful incarnation or manifestation of Krishna, but it's meant for all of us to learn from him how to be forgiving. People they spit at us, they may spite us, they may attack us with weapons, but as Prabhupada mentions, we should be forgiving. And actually this took place not long ago, I don't know exactly how long ago, but in a place called Nimban, there was a devotee who was manning a book table, and it was a table full of Prabhupada's books. And then he heard something that sounded like explosions going on right near him, and he didn't know what it was. And then after a while, he realized that they were bottles of alcohol, because a few pieces of glass landed right on his table. And then he realized that he was actually the target of these bottles. And then he saw them flying through the air, and he realized they were coming from across the road. And then he looked a little closer, and he saw that they were being cast toward him by two drunken men, very drunk. They had drunk this alcohol, and they were throwing the bottles. So he picked up his books, went across the road where they were, and embraced them. And they were amazed at his tolerance and his kindness. And they, on the spot, one of them apologized to him for their very violent behavior. And later on, one of them actually wrote to this devotee that he wanted a copy of Bhagavad Gita. So if we're forbearing and forgiving, it has benefits. Even sometimes with people like Jagayan Madai or these two drunken men, so they're very impressed by the fact that even in the face of a lot of adversity and a lot of violence, there can be kindness, and there can be tolerance, and there can be forgiveness. So anyway, I don't know if that answers your question, but it was a very deep thought. Any others? Any other comments? Yes? I think this probably is going to be our well, we'll have the last one after this.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
How do we best appeal to the mercy of Lord Nityananda today?
Well, don't ask me because I don't know. But obviously, if we have a very decorated room and we're coming in large numbers, and we're praying to him, we're trying every day to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda. So if we just continue to pray for that mercy, somehow or other it will come. Once in a little thing that occurred, and I think it was in 1972, someone asked Prabhupada if they could go back to Godhead in this lifetime, and he didn't answer immediately. He kind of thought, and then finally he nodded his head, yes. And as he was walking out of the room, this was at the end of his lecture, as he was walking out of the room, he shook his index finger at the person who asked the question. He said, but don't take advantage. Don't take advantage. In other words, it's possible to go back to Godhead, but there's no guarantee that we're going to go back to Godhead in this next life. We may have to become an insect in the house of a devotee or some kind of an animal in Vrindavan first, but we'll get there eventually, we hope. One more question? Yes, go ahead. Gentleman has a query. Outside.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I would just like to understand a bit more about how can we understand the avadutish nature of Nitai, that he is showing us this importance of compassion and delivering all the fallen conditioned souls. But
the term, the word avaduta, as far as I know, I don't know a lot of Sanskrit, but it not only means someone who is constantly detached and unaffected by goings on in the material world, but a person who teaches others how to become spiritually conscious. That's what the purpose of an avaduta is. So an avaduta is not only a person who has to be detached from the material world and the material goings on in the material world, but a person who teaches others how to gain spiritual life. So this mudra, or this gesture of joining the index finger and the thumb, is very constant among avadutas, to assume this mudra or this position when explaining spiritual life to others. That's Prabhupada mentions that particular mudra is there's a name for it, I don't know what it is, but that's what they do sometimes. And we've seen that people sometimes when they're giving lectures about spiritual things that they adopt this stance. Okay, I think that's all we can have. Do we have a breakfast or not? Are we fasting this morning? Okay, Hare Krishna, thank you.